as one of the topics, social media engagement was a massive subject. So Cindy, who is our amazing social media lead, is going to give a presentation, but then there'll be time for lots of questions. So please ask questions at any point in the chat or at the end, think of anything really practical that you'd like to ask. So over to Cindy.
Thank you. I will share my screen. And I don't profess to be an expert. It's a lot of trial and error. So let me start. So I'm going to toggle between the presentation slides and some sites on the website. So hopefully don't get too dizzy. And I'm going to focus mainly on Twitter, because I know that's what a lot of you guys have. Some of you also have LinkedIn, and there's a few Facebook, but that's more for kind of consumer-facing groups. Our Twitter account is like 4,000 followers, so that's doubled in the last 3 years. And we're kind of waiting to see whether we hit peak prevention people. And our LinkedIn account, I'm very excited. It's grown tenfold in the last 3 years. I think when I started, we were like 200. Now we've got 2,000 followers. We also do have a Threads account, an Instagram account, a Mastodon account, YouTube. Threads, we've getting some kind of connection there. Instagram, it's just we're kind of starting to get there. It's more about claiming our handle. Mastodon, I think, is a bit of a dead space, so that may disappear. And YouTube, we will give a bit of a renewed focus this year, but I'm really focusing on on Twitter, but you can take a lot of these kind of thinking to other platforms, and also focusing on organic rather than paid, because I feel like that's where you get the real engagement from your free kind of postings rather than advertising. So if you haven't already checked out the amazing Sarah user guide. There's a social media chapter that Helen and I put together where it takes through some of the basics around making sure that your posts are brief and simple, using plain English, that the power of attractive images and infographics. But today I'm going to focus on engaging with your audience and finding those advocates and amplifiers in the social community who will help get your message out. And also a bit of a cheat sheet on how to stay on top of foreign affairs and news in the kind of area that you're focused on. And a reminder that Monday is World Obesity Day, so get into the hashtags, share something relevant, or just share someone else's relevance. So I wanted to talk about the social community, and I need to apologise in advance if I swear when I talk about Twitter. And yes, I still refer to it as Twitter. I'm not going to refer to it as X. And Elon has just destroyed it. But let's stay in there because there is a big community of researchers in Twitter. We find our kind of research community in Twitter and policymakers in LinkedIn. And even though your feed from Twitter is absolutely useless, I get a lot of fluffy cats, horrible images from Gaza, and mushroom toenail cures at the moment. But I'll show you a way to get around that. So I'm going to go over here and show Twitter Circle. If you haven't created a Twitter Circle, I really suggest you do it. So twittercircle.com, you put your handle in, and then it will show you who the people are who engage with you and who you engage with. So who is in your circle. And within that circle of the people that you're engaging with, you can then go to, like I'll go to refresh. I can go to their account, or I can generate their account. This might do a bit of a lag. And then I can see who are in the circle that refresh connects with. So I might discover some people who share content that would be of interest to my people, so I can start engaging with them. So then we can see who Refresh connects with. So there are a lot of crossover, but there might be some new people. So I really suggest you check out Twitter Circle. That's a really easy way to find out who you're already connecting with and who you might want to connect with. And you might see, you can check out the Twitter profile of someone and see why they're getting so much engagement, the kind of content that they share. So yes, this way you will find people who are sharing the content that's similar to your content, your common interests. And it's really important that you think about sharing and not just selling. I know a lot of us, the focus of a lot of social media is to say, here is our event, here is our project, come to this, do this. But in order to get that engagement, you've got to create that conversation. So sharing news stories, sharing other people's posts that you know would be of interest to your people. So you're kind of creating that social community. When it comes to events, if you've got a person attending an event, I know we often will post saying, here's Helen attending this conference and she gave this great presentation. Kind of open it up a bit wider. Have a look at the hashtag for the event, see who else is posting about it, and like something else that someone else has posted or repost something. So because you'll often get it back in return, that if you're liking and reposting, they will like and repost yours. And it's really important to look at tagging people, but do it with a purpose. We sometimes have random people who tag random organisations. It's a bit annoying, but I will show you today. Today, the knowledge synthesis that we released was fantastic because we were able to tag a lot of the authors who are involved and also the CEREG working group. But because we put
Cindy, could you just make, sorry, Cindy, can you just make that a little bit bigger? Sorry.
So we've tagged other people, their handles, and because I put in a photo instead of just the link, you can then tag another 10 onto that photo. So then I'm able to tag all of the CREs who are involved and also like the Health Promotion Association, Public Health Australia, who I know will be interested in this. And the same for LinkedIn. Take that bigger. Because we've got a lot of policymakers here, we know this is the perfect audience for this document. So we've tagged every man and his dog is involved, the policymakers who are involved as well, using the hashtags here because you have much more content. But again, the photo, you don't get to tag the photo, but you do get to tag a lot more in LinkedIn. Now let me get back to my Prezo. And you will see in my circle, we do have a couple of random funny creatures because it's nice to also share some fun stuff. So you have a bit of a more informal profile. Now, before I show you Elmo, I'll take you to what I mean. Let me see which one. So my likes. So we've obviously liked the people who've reposted and commented on the knowledge synthesis today, which looks great. Other things that are happening in CREs, CSIRO do Wombat Wednesday, which I love. So every now and then I will like a wombat. So these were other media articles that will be of interest to our group. But then there's also, I think it's just down here, like a cute bunny video. I love that one. But also talking to the academic audience and the PhD students that we deal with. And so this is me agreeing to write a paper and me now writing that paper. So it's kind of communicating to the people that we know about notification. So now I can go back to Elmo and explain Elmo. So it's really important to try and keep on top of what's trending in Twitter, not just the hashtags that we'll talk. hashtags for a person or an event or something. But every now and then something bizarre happens in the Twitter world that makes it into mainstream media. And last month, the Elmo account innocently posted, "How is everybody doing?" And poor Elmo got plastered with, they called it trauma dumping. I think it was like 20,000 responses of, "Elmo, I'm not doing great." And so the next day, Elmo's like, "Oh, I'm glad I asked. I hope everyone's feeling better." And 80 million people viewed that post. And so we liked that because that was then shared with our Twitter followers as something amusing and also to show that we're on top of what's happening. And because the Twitter analytics is just ridiculous, it's really important you know your way around notifications and lists. So the notifications, you will get notified if someone likes or reposts or comments, but you can also specifically ask for live notifications when a certain account, every time they post, because the algorithm is weird, and often because you follow so many people, you don't often get to see everyone. So my notifications, so I'm getting notified of who's liked things and who's commented, but I've also turned on notifications for, where is it? For Public Health Australia and SACS Institute, so every time they post comes up. So for example, if I wanted to get notified every time that CRE Wand posted, you go up to this little bell and you turn the notification. So I've just turned the notification on or turned it off. So every time they post, it will come up in my notification. And the other way around is with lists. We used to be able to use TweetDeck to see a lot of different accounts and follow them. Elon's put that behind his paid thing now, and I refuse to pay. But a way around that is to actually create your own list. So if you click on lists, there's a lot of lists that you can follow that are already created. But for me, I've created some lists like this. I have a Seri list. So I've got all the 10 CREs in here. So everything that you guys post, I can see that in this feed. So every morning or any time during the day, I can see what I've missed, what hasn't come up in my feed. It's all there. So I use the Seri one, I use a media one, and the key media that I've got in here is like The Conversation, Croaky, and Melissa Sweet, who retweets a lot of things. So this way I can keep on top of the outlets that I know will be sharing media that I know will be of interest to me. So I really advise getting into lists. What am I doing next? Oh, and this is a bit of a cheat sheet for staying on top of the news. Not everyone would be a news junkie like me, who I pay attention to news, whether or not it's my job anyway. But because we do that, we've done it for you. So just want to make sure everyone knows about Prevention Headlines, which is on our website. So we have it under news. We have Prevention Headlines, and every month we're updating this every day with news items that relate to public health, that relate to prevention, that relate to a lot of the issues that you guys will be dealing with. So come and check out the Prevention Headlines every day. There might be a news story that might interest you that you can share, or at least you'll get to understand what issues are around. And another thing I recommend is Croaky. And two particular items on Croaky. Every Sunday, around Sunday or Monday, they have the Zap, which is a summary of media releases and announcements from ministers and government, from health groups, trade unions. So it kind of sets the scene for the week of knowing what issues are at play. And the other one that Croaky has is In Case You Missed It, and they tend to do that at the end of the week. And that's kind of a summary of the news, but also a lot of Twitter conversations. So you might discover some new accounts that you might want to follow or events that are coming up. And it's also fun when you see your own tweet shared there. So really recommend Croaky. Analytics. I'm not going to talk too much about analytics because I think that the size of the audiences that you have now and what you want to grow, you will get a sense of the engagement that you're getting because you'll get to see your followers grow and you'll get to see likes and retweets and the vibe of it. But also because Twitter has completely destroyed their analytics. You used to be able to see them here. They're not there anymore. So go to analytics.twitter.com. And when you type that address in, when you've got your Twitter account open, it will come up, but you will see it's broken on the front page. But if you click on tweets, then you get to see like the last period. I don't think all of the dates work like they used to. So we've had like 5,500 impressions over the last 28 days. And then you can see like your top posts. So I can see like the knowledge synthesis that went out today. It's had 751 impressions. So it's reached 751 different accounts so far. Engagements, we've had like 52 likes or reposts or comments. And the engagement rate's like 6.9%. Engagement for Twitter, 1 to 3% is considered good. 4 and 5 is really good. So our average is like 4 and 5. So that's really, we're happy with that. So check that out. But I do recommend, there are some free analytics, but we use Hootsuite, which we pay for. But Hootsuite, if you go to their blog, this is where here a couple of different industries that we're close to, like healthcare and wellness, education, the average engagement for January was 1%. So I'm pretty happy with our 4% for this last period. But if you check out Hootsuite, they do have a blog where they have a lot of articles on engagement, different rates, like Instagram, Facebook, lots of things. So there's a lot of information there. And Hootsuite also they do like a 30-day free trial of their analytics. So if you register with that and then get out before the end of the 30 days, you might find some value in that. But keep in mind, once you put your account in it, it doesn't go backwards. So you'd have to put it in that first day and then see in the next couple of weeks what analytics it picks up on. Back. But I do have a proposal for this year. I know I talk about Croaky, but it's fantastic. Croaky has an account at We Public Health, which they have a guest tweeter every week. So they hand it over to a person or organisation who tweets from that account. And that account has like 50, don't go backwards. Sorry. On the one that actually moves. That account has 15,000 followers. And Melissa Sweet, who's the editor at Croaky News, she has like close to 30,000 followers herself. And often Melissa and Croaky will then repost what you post from We Public Health. So you get a huge reach. We did We Public Health, and you get to change the name. So we did Value of Prevention in 2022, and we had 35,000 impressions. And then last year, when we did it again, we had 70,000 impressions just for that week. So I was thinking maybe we could actually do Value of Collaboration sometime this year. And have a group of CERI people doing it. So on the Monday, it could be the Prevention Centre. We would start off and introduce CERI as we have done in the past. And then each day could be themed around different things that are in common with CREs. And apart from the reach, the other good thing is that at the end of the week, Croaky actually does a story summarising your week. So this was our story last year, and they will share a lot of the tweets. So we had a video up then, and then we had a lot of information. We shared a lot of stuff about different CREs. So it's a really nice way to kind of wrap up the week, and that way you've actually got a story on top of the Twitter coverage for the people who don't necessarily have Twitter, but in your network might want to know what you're doing. So I think that's it for me. If you have any questions, now I can make that move and I will stop sharing.
Oh, thanks, Cindy. That was amazing. It's just so impressive what you do. Cindy's always the person, the prevention centre goes, oh, yes, NCOIS are doing this, or, you know, HIP's doing that. Like, so on top of everything in the news. I think that's such an incredibly vital role for prevention. So questions, anyone? Let's see.
Oh, I have a question, if that's okay. Cindy, do you find when reposting content from other organisations that it's more effective if you make your own comments, so repost with comments, or whether just reposting it kind of gives you the same result?
It depends what it is. I want to share my screen and show something. Only because we had a good example LinkedIn this week. There is that fine line between, yes, you want to repost because you want to share that message, but you also want to kind of jump onto what's happening. But there's a fine line between kind of announcing someone else's news, if that makes sense. So we have had, like this one, we had a lot of reposts of this one. This was a story that was in The Conversation that Becky wrote about. So it wasn't anything to do with our projects. But rather than just sharing it, I was able to say, like, have you heard about nicotine pouches? Check out Becky's article in The Chronicle, so The Chronicle of Conversation. And then liked her saying, thanks for sharing it. So that way I was able to acknowledge that. But then other times it's just like straight out sharing, like this one, story in the National Indigenous Times. That's a photo from one of our projects, but the story actually didn't have anything to do with us. But it was something that we knew, like, we would get a lot of likes on it because we know that's kind of what the audience is after. So it really does depend on whether you have something to add to it, or sometimes it's enough just to say, this is really good, check this out.
Cool, thank you.
I was just wondering, like, if you could just give a brief kind of explainer of the kind of key difference between how you like kind of operate and use LinkedIn and oh, sorry, Beck, I've jumped in front of you. Versus Twitter, like, because obviously, like, we do the whole Twitter thing, and we do have like a LinkedIn profile, but it's just kind of trying to work out how much extra time that might take to kind of manage and curate LinkedIn with no knowledge of it.
I think it is worth investing a bit of time in it, because I know when I first started, I just focused on the Twitter account and I kept saying, I'll turn to LinkedIn, I'll turn to LinkedIn, I'll turn to LinkedIn. And then I thought, okay, I'll give LinkedIn some love, and it really did return it. So the Twitter, kind of more tweets are coming from the account. I try to do LinkedIn at least once a day, but it really does depend, keeping in mind that audience, that it's the policymakers you can talk to, and by tagging the researchers, you're kind of amplifying their roles, so you know that there's benefit for them. So I guess the Twitter is a bit more reactive and a bit more informal than LinkedIn, or at least in the version that persona we're putting out there.
Beck, did you have a question?
I did, and it was almost identical to Meg, but because we have been talking about LinkedIn. I was just wondering, in a similar vein, Cindy, can you like copy the content that you're putting on Twitter, or you're better like into LinkedIn, or you really are better to reformulate for that different audience? Because we're kind of trying to look for efficiencies where we possibly can.
Yeah, a lot of the times I try to do both at the same time, but the content is a bit tweaked because Twitter is like so much shorter, and you're just like trying to really summarize bang what it is. Whereas LinkedIn, you're trying to hope that people will actually look at that content before they then click through, if that makes sense.
It's a bit more like a short news article kind of style on LinkedIn then, rather than a post. Yeah. Okay.
But either way, both of them, unless we're sharing like a news content or someone else's stuff, we're trying to push traffic back to our website.
Yeah.
So really trying to link to a story that's on our website or a project that's on our website. So we're trying to bring them back.
Yeah. Thank you.
Helen?
Next. So I'm really curious. I'm just trying to figure out how much time you would spend in a day doing this. Like, what's your process? Sit down, check the news, check your accounts, respond, batch some stuff up. I feel like I sort of dive in and I can be there all day and then not have very much to show for it in terms of engagement at the end of it. So
yes, I can understand that.
I need something to measure myself against.
Well, look, I do try, and because I'm doing prevention headlines in the morning, so I'm already out there checking out what's in the news, checking out what's news is kind of being shared in Twitter or LinkedIn. So I try and do something in the morning, and then throughout the day, I mean, I'm already hooked into the news, so I'll know something is breaking, and I've always got the Twitter account open and LinkedIn open, so I'll get the notifications. But yeah, there is that line of you don't want to overdo stuff. I try and do a LinkedIn every day, but not if there's anything I'm not going to throw something out for the sake of it. And I will tweet several times a day, but keeping in mind we're across a lot of different issues, whereas I know you guys might have very specific kind of areas that you're looking at. So you may not need to share everything every day. And sometimes people don't want to hear several tweets a day from someone who's just like saying the same thing.
Yeah, and I've got multiple accounts and multiple issues, and I forget where I was going with that, but I find it quite difficult because I think I came in it with the idea that you'd be able to just batch up all of this content, and I'm really finding it's not. It's got to be in the minute, on the day, as stuff comes up.
So Cindy, on that, what's the difference between like posting something with your content and then responding to people and getting into conversations? Like, is that as important, or can you build engagement that way?
Well, not necessarily like responding or conversations, but having that kind of two-way conversation of I'm sharing your content from Seri, you're sharing my content. So it's a bit of that community content. I wouldn't recommend getting in and replying to everything because you just don't want to get into that. And some things, there are some replies you just want to ignore anyway.
Ainsley?
I was just going to add to the question from Helen. A good example would be when Cindy goes away and Helen and I panic and think, how on earth are we going to cover her job? So we have only one person on our social. I'm not sure if that's the same for all the rest of you, but that's just for consistency of voice and tone. And so if Cindy goes away, I usually take over it, or if I can't do it, Helen will take over it. And Helen, I go down rabbit holes every time, but I try and keep it to the same formula as what Cindy said, which was to do the prevention headlines. And it's really helpful in once you've done that, like what Cindy was saying, it actually helps inform, like sort of spotlights what you need to pick up on the Twitter feeds or the notifications. So it's sort of very complementary, those two tasks. And I try and keep it to just when she's away, because I've got my other role as well, I just try to keep it to likes and more monitoring role than actually creating new content. So unless there's something big breaking while Cindy's away, I'll probably just like and retweet posts rather than create new posts. So that's sort of how I manage it when she's away. But another thing is to think about why you're employing the social media, like what's the purpose behind it and what other channels you have. So Cindy, when Cindy came on, we were one of the main reasons we asked her to focus on social media was to bring that human interest and the human face to prevention, and that engagement again, the conversations, the more informal human interactions. And, you know, that's been so, as you can see, it's been so successful with what she's done, but it's because she's been so engaging and she does have that feedback. Like a lot of people we talk to think, you know, wonder why we invest so much in social media, because they think of it as that one way, just sending out information. But it really is, it's a conversation, and the informal style, I've just been blown away by how successful it's been in terms of, you know, having that human interest face to prevention, which has always been a struggle for us to have with our public. So I think that's, yeah, sorry, that's just my 20 cents worth on how much I love it, especially Wombat Wednesday.
Meg?
So I just had a couple of things. As you were talking to Ainsley about your kind of keeping things ticking over strategy, I wondered whether that could be a potential good strategy, kind of ease our way into LinkedIn. And then I just kind of wanted a bit more kind of advice around we were to kind of prioritize LinkedIn, like what would you advise kind of would be the key kind of things? I guess, Cindy, you might have seen some of the things that we kind of post on our Twitter account, like obviously keeping in mind that they're more, you know, as policymakers, but just if you've got any advice about if we're going to kind of start, what could be like the baby steps and what kind of content that you could advise that we could kind of prioritize. Yeah.
I would see what the key people that are following you, or the people that you want to be following you, what content they're engaging with, to see what they're reposting, to see what they're liking, so you know that's the stuff that they want to share.
No, that's great, because I noticed Natasha Strands on one of your, and I was like, oh, she's someone, you know, like that would be great to, yeah, obviously we'd love to get our stuff in front of her, and she's a good contact of our centre. So yeah, that's I can see that's would be a useful place to start, even just having a look at your account and seeing kind of who those kind of common partners and audiences, what they engage with there. So yeah, that'll be super useful.
What does everybody think about getting together to do a We Love Public Health blitz a bit later in the year? I might send out an email asking this for sort of formal volunteers, but I think it would be quite a good way, because if we work together, then you could also work with Cindy, and, you know, the best way to learn is by doing, right? So, you know, and you'll get a real sense of what works and what doesn't.
And it does require a bit of planning. So it's not like we just throw you the account and say, off you go, make up stuff today. It's like a lot of kind of, what is the content that I'm going to do that day? Because most of it is like content you've pre-planned, and there might occasionally be something that turns up in the news that fits with what you're talking about that you can share.
Yeah, good point, Sean. Any more questions? I'm very rude. I didn't welcome our newcomers, by the way. Claudia's here, and Sarah, I don't think, has been to one of these before either. So welcome to everybody. Any more questions? Because we don't have to. Oh, Julia, did you have a question?
Yeah, hi. I was just wondering, we have a Blue Sky account and a Mastodon account, and I was wondering what your experience with those accounts is. If anyone is using it, it seems a bit like, yeah, there's not a lot happening on our accounts, or I don't know. I just feel like, yeah, well, I just post something, but I might as well not do it because what's the point? There don't seem to be a lot of people engaging there yet. I don't know. I just sometimes, I post something on Twitter and then I just copy that similar thing and just post it a bit half-heartedly on those other accounts as well. And nothing ever happens there. That's my feeling. So I'm like, is this a waste of time? Is it worth it? Should I keep doing this? Or,
That's what I found with like Mastodon. I think we all thought Mastodon was going to be it when Twitter looked a bit shaky last year, but I don't think there's much in there. So I'm just occasionally putting something there more to kind of sit on our handle in case it does become the next thing and no one else has our name. And I think Threads is the great hope. So trying to give some love to that, and we'll see how that goes. But is Blue Sky, I'm trying to Blue Sky a post, you have to be invited to it?
in the beginning, yes, we got some.
Yeah.
Carol got an invite and shared it with me. So we have an account there, but I'm not sure. I think they want to open it up to more people who want to leave Twitter or X.
Yeah, so that's why I think that's one of the reasons we haven't jumped to get an account there, because it's more, I don't want to be in a closed community if we're going to do something. So I would still keep your account, do your half-hearted stuff unless something magically happens. But I want us to stay invested in Twitter. And if you can go through lists and notifications and work around, we can ignore the stupid feed that comes through and keep talking to ourselves.
Okay, thank you.
Helen?
Yeah, I was curious, you started talking about Threads. So I've also got Facebook and Instagram for other non-CRE1 type things. And I've been looking at Threads and just thinking it just seems to be the same stuff that's already on Instagram. Is there anything that you've seen that's, I haven't bothered setting up our account yet, and I'm not sure if I would. Is there a community? Is it getting, does stuff get traction? Is it just the same people who are already on?
I've actually been surprised that we're getting more traction on Instagram.
Okay.
And because I didn't really think that would be something for us, but I'll just share my screen again because
because obviously I find Instagram a lot more work in terms of having to have the visuals rather than linking back.
And the other thing is, like, you can't put an actual list, a URL on.
Yeah.
So that's really annoying. But what I have found is making sure that the images actually have the content.
Okay.
So instead of just putting up our image that goes with the knowledge synthesis, I've actually like created in Canva, so we know that will get the attention, or the name of the event that we're promoting. And with most of them, like having to do at the end, please visit our website, even though you can't do a link for it.
I've been sort of following the conversation and the ABC's lead on putting a lot more text into the Instagram posts. Is anyone doing reels or videos? I've hesitating because we don't have people who want to be the talking head on the video.
We tried to get some footage when we went to a conference and make a come with us to the conference style video. But we didn't quite get enough footage. But I think it's something we'd like to try in the future, just to break up the serious research component a little bit more.
Yeah, in the bio, but not in the actual story, which is annoying because sometimes I'll put it like I want to do a link straight to the knowledge synthesis, but I can't. So it's like, come and find it on our website.
Any other
Okay, is
questions or issues? Oh,
Has
Claudia.
anyone delved into TikTok?
No, just quickly on that, Cindy, as well, you can, if you share it to your story as well, you can then put the link there that goes to, you can link it directly to whatever. So I know for a webinar that Sphere is getting ready to run at the moment with Dr. Rebecca French, I've had to put the event link in the bio, but then every time I've reshared it on Instagram or Facebook, I've also put the link on the story.
Okay, thank you.
It's another option.
And that's a 24-hour.
Yes.
So stays up there for 24 hours, so you keep reposting. Yeah.
It hurts my head how we've got to try and cover off so many platforms.
Anyone else? Okay, well, if that's it, we might have an early mark. Thanks for recording it, Ainsley. I knew I'd forget. I always forget to hit record. So we'll send this out, and also for the people who couldn't be here. So the next one will be in about 6 weeks, and we're really hoping to get one up on dealing with CALD communities and communicating there, because again, that's an issue that a lot of the CREs have asked for support with. So we'll let you know more about that. But in the meantime, you know, don't hesitate to contact us if you've got any questions, and Cindy's always here to advise. Oh, Sean.
I just wanted to ask, are we planning on doing any sort of coordinated communication about the special issue coming out?
Oh, yeah, sorry. So PHRP do that. So Megan Howe so the Sachs Institute media people have identified where they think the media potential is. So they'll go out with it, and then we'll support them on social and stuff and amplify. And obviously it'll go out through our channels as well. And then we've got
they're going to run their social plans past us, so we'll make sure that they've got all the relevant tags so no one misses out on it. And don't worry, we'll be going to town with it too.